Hi everybody, I'm Dawn. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for visiting with me today. So today I want to discuss an interview that Seth Rogers, Sebastian Rogers' father, recently did with the Pascal Show. If you have not seen, this was my first time actually visiting that channel, the Pascal Show, and he is very handsome. So anybody who's just interested in looks, he's very handsome, but very smart as well. And he did a very good interview with Seth Rogers. For those who don't know, and I'm pretty sure everybody knows, Sebastian Rogers is a 15-year-old autistic boy who went missing on February 26th and has been missing since. And there's been no trace of him. And it's really weird that there's been absolutely no trace whatsoever of him. So we're just going to go over some clips I pulled from the interview. But I do urge you to please go check out the Pascal Show, watch this interview, subscribe him, tell him I sent you. He doesn't know who I am, but tell him I sent you anyway. Say, Dawn from the Cutting Board sent me to your channel. Just go ahead and do that. And, but yeah, he does a really excellent interview. I'm only going over little bits and pieces of the interview, not the entire thing, but I do urge you to go watch the entire thing for just a deeper understanding of what's going on here. And I do have notes that I will be looking down at as per usual. So if I seem a little like I'm speaking a little slow or whatever, I don't feel great tonight. I'm having some kind of sugar episode and I don't really know what's going on. Calling my doctor tomorrow to see if we can maybe get me scheduled with endocrinologist. So, but that's something else. So yeah, the Pascal Show, please go watch him. Check his channel out. Tell him I sent you. Dawn from the Cutting Board sent me to see you. He doesn't know me, but you know, it would be great if he could see that I'm sending them. But he's very good. And the interview was very good as well. So we're just going to go over these clips and I'm going to comment on each one, okay?
This obviously made the rounds and shocked a lot of people. It shocked me too, my brother. I'm going to be real. I was shocked. Very, very shocked.
It didn't shock me. I know it shocked a lot of people. It was shocking and heartbreaking. It didn't shock me. And I hate seem like I'm in that headspace where it never surprises me when a child is SA'd, but it never surprises me when a child has been SA'd. It happened to me when I was 11, and then as I've grown up, it just seems like more people than not have been victims of SA. And I know that children on the spectrum have a higher chance of being victimized, being SA'd. And so it didn't shock me. And I am making an assumption, assuming that that's what they're talking about here, because I can't think of what else they would be talking about in this portion. But as I said, it didn't shock me, and it angers me. It doesn't shock me, but it does anger me. It angers me that it's what I expect, and it angers me that this happened to this sweet young man. It's just nothing that's going on or has gone on is okay. And I'm really irritated. I know it seems like I'm making a lot of videos about Sebastian and Madeline, but I'm so angry. I'm so fed up. I'm so fed up with our children getting harmed, especially by the people in the world who are supposed to care the most about them. And it is really just a very sore spot for me. And not to make it about me. I know I'm like, oh, let me make it about me. I don't mean to do that, but you know, something is driving me to talk about this. And, you know, I don't get millions of views. For me, it's not about the views, you know. It's just about getting his picture out there. I know it's too late for Madeline, but we can still talk about her in the spirit of getting justice. But like I said, there's never any true justice. There's never any true justice. I mean, there's justice as far as we can get it. But at the end of the day, the child is still gone. The person we're trying to get justice for is still gone. In Sebastian's case, I'm still hopeful. I'm very hopeful that he'll be found alive and well and okay, and will never have to go back to his mother and his evil stepfather ever again. But we're going to get more into that. Okay, so let's talk about this next clip.
Mr. Proudfoot, Chris, people were asking why he didn't want my son around his daughter. And he kept telling me that if people keep asking the question, he's going to answer it. And turned around and stated that if he tells them, people will stop looking for Sebastian.
Really? Okay, can I ask you something before you continue on? I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm curious, when was this conversation that was had? And was that something on a podcast, or was that something between you guys behind, on your own time behind closed doors?
Yes.
So him sitting there saying, I don't want... Go ahead. What were you going to say?
It was over the phone.
Okay, so him saying, if people start asking why I don't want Sebastian around Faith, they won't go and look for Sebastian.
If
they found out the truth.
Why? Yeah. That people wouldn't go look for my son.
So and this is brought up a lot, and this will be talked about a lot in this video. But why wouldn't people go look for Sebastian? Because Sebastian was a victim. So I know what Chris is trying to do. I know what he's trying to pull, what he's trying to imply, but it's ridiculous. He's basically saying, well, I'm going to tell people, that's my impression of Chris, I'm going to tell people what happened to Sebastian, and that's why I don't want him around Faith, my daughter, because people will assume that Sebastian is going to do the same thing to Faith, trying to paint Sebastian as the bad guy. But at the end of the day, that's just going to make Chris look like more of a, you know what I mean? I'm sorry, I'm trying to keep it as clean as possible because my mouth has been bad lately when I get frustrated and talk about these children. But anyway, I know what Chris would be trying to imply by doing this. But Sebastian's never been accused of anything that we know of. And that's on you, Chris, and on you, Katie. If you're not getting Sebastian adequate help for what happened to him with this not 13-year-old child that harmed him. So for those who don't know, Seth was on Justin of TikTok with an interview with him, and said that Sebastian was essayed by a 13-year-old boy while under Katie and Chris's watch, and that they didn't pay any attention, that they weren't taking care of him, they don't watch him, they don't look out for him, and that happened under their watch. And so Chris was going to spread around that this happened to Sebastian, with the implication that that means Sebastian is like that now too. And that's why Chris doesn't want Sebastian around his daughter Faith, because he thinks Sebastian is going to do the same thing to Faith. It's ridiculous is what it is. It's ridiculous. He has some weird fear inside of him. And instead of helping Katie getting adequate help for Sebastian, they just create this ridiculous fear inside of them where Faith is concerned. His daughter from a different marriage, Nina, and I believe Nina is Faith's mother. And I don't know. It's weird to me. It's weird because even the thought of this implication makes me actually even more suspicious of Chris. Because I didn't suspect Chris of being involved in anything nefarious. I just think he's responsible because of his just personal responsibility. You know what I mean? But I never really thought Chris did anything to Sebastian because he allegedly wasn't in town. But now I'm thinking of other things. Other wheels are spinning in my brain, and I'm thinking of other things. And we'll get to that. But let's go on to the next clip.
Okay.
I did get heated because I didn't appreciate him saying that when it's like, dude, it's just another time that you and his mom have failed him. And I'm sitting here trying to put the pieces back together.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
My whole issue about that is if you cared that much for my son as you do your daughter, that you don't want my son around because there's a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
Why weren't you thinking about that when he's under your roof?
No doubt.
So that's curious. So Chris was out of town, right? He was allegedly out of town. But did he have some kind of plan in motion to eliminate Sebastian in some way, to get rid of Sebastian in some way? Because he had some kind of fear that Sebastian was going to do something to Faith, even though Chris doesn't give a damn about Faith at all, in my opinion. He's a malignant narcissist. But I wonder if he had a plan in motion, you know, and be like, okay, well, you know, maybe paid somebody to do something. I don't know. But he was like, maybe knew he was going to be out of town, made arrangements, came up with a whole plan. And that's why he wants Seth to stop looking. That's why he wants Seth to stop looking for Sebastian. Because Chris already knows what happened, because he planned the thing. It's just, I'm not trying to throw a blame out there or anything. I'm just thinking, and I'm just making my thoughts known. It is possible that it's just a theory I have, that if he felt this strongly about the possibility of Sebastian doing something, you know, like essaying Faith for whatever reason, which I hate saying about a 15-year-old autistic boy, but this is, you know, Chris speaking. If he was so worried about that, you know, what was to keep him from coming up with a plan to get rid of Sebastian in some way, shape, or form? Not necessarily unalive him, but get rid of him in some way. You know? Sell him to traffickers, something like that. Because that's one thing that had come to mind. I thought, what if someone got him and, you know, maybe took him to like New York City or Miami or one of those places where they have studios, where they make special content for the dark web, or for the dark web, you know? I mean, that is a thing that happens. You know, it's not so commonplace, but it does happen. We just don't talk about it because it's one of those hard subjects. But, I mean, Chris could have done anything. You know, just because Chris wasn't there doesn't mean he's not responsible. It doesn't mean he didn't plan something. It's just weird to me. It's just weird to me. So, you know, and I know I've been accepting that he was out of town, but now I don't know. If he has this backwoods opinion of Sebastian, maybe he did. This is just me theorizing, but maybe he's involved in some way. Maybe he made an arrangement with people. You know, you can see it in his cold, dead eyes. He's a dark person. You know who he has eyes like. Look at his eyes. Go look at Ruby Frankie's eyes. I'm just saying. Just saying.
People were asking questions like like the smart,
Why don't
intelligent
Chris,
people that they are. Go ahead.
why don't you bashing around your daughter? You know, people were asking, Chris, why don't you want Sebastian around your daughter? I see people in chat that were asking me all the time, why doesn't Chris want Sebastian around his daughter? There's your answer.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Interesting. So you're
It's suspicious. It's suspicious to me. Why is Chris allowed around his daughter? Why is he allowed around children at all? He's awful. We already know that. We all already know that from what's been said in interviews. You know, why is Chris and his violent ABUSIVE allowed around any child? I don't know. It's weird to me. I don't like that guy. I don't trust him. Like with Katie, I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt. But after this interview, after watching this interview and my wheels turning, I know that maybe I've watched too much Special Victims Unit. But what we see on Special Victims Unit is based on true crimes that have happened. They're not telling the true story, but it's based on true stories. And if you think that that dark web stuff isn't really happening, then you need to do some research. I think, and again, this is just a thought I'm having. I'm not an investigator, but it is a theory of mine. I'm suspicious of Chris, and it is this theory of mine. He made arrangements to have something done to Sebastian, and he knew he would be out of town, so he would have that whole alibi. And the reason he doesn't want to take a lie detector test is because they don't know what he's going to ask him, and he plans on lying. That would be the only reason you don't want to take a lie detector test, because saying that the TBI doesn't want him to take the test, like he told Nancy Grace, when Nancy Grace said, will you take a polygraph test if I arrange it? And he said, name the place and time. And she did. And then he's like, oh, the TBI won't let me do it or whatever. And that's nonsense, because Seth was able to do it. He either took one already or is getting ready to take one in a few days. I'm not sure of the timeline, but no one told Seth he couldn't take it. So, yeah. Yeah.
So you're telling me that he looks at Sebastian like some sort of predator?
yeah.
Wow. But why? Because of what happened to him in California under his supervision, or under him and Katie Proudfoot's supervision?
That and the fact that he hasn't got the correct help. In California, he was seeing a doctor by the name of Dr. Franny at Balboa, and she didn't appreciate the fact that I stood up and used a stern voice with her and told her she wasn't doing anything for my son by letting him play with toys and choose what movie or he gets to watch when he gets out of the thing. That's not helping him. That's not the proper therapy. I'm already researching this. She wasn't. What's the word I'm looking for? She wasn't qualified for that type of therapy.
Chris is just sick. And I know it seems like I'm just trusting Seth completely, but Seth is out there looking for Sebastian. Seth is showing that he cares in his interviews. Despite somebody in this interview, now I don't have a clip of that, but someone made a comment about Seth being too calm or whatever. I mean, loser, shut up. You're just trolling. But Chris is sick. Chris is sick. He and Katie let Sebastian down. They let him down at every turn. They really did. I'm not going to say they're good parents when they've clearly shown that they're not. And to me, they're sad and they're pathetic. And I don't buy it. I do not buy it. I mean, fun fact, I made breakfast. That's a weird thing to say when your child goes missing. Yeah, being critical. And for the person who wants to come in, like, because somebody asked you, well, who are you then? I'll tell you who I am. I am someone who has never ABUSCD'd my child. I am someone who knew where my 15-year-old was at all times. I am someone who has never let anyone put a hand on my kid. That's who I am. That's who I am if you want to know who I am. Okay? All right, let's move on.
All right. A lot of people are, this is the information that I am giving is facts. It's not me trying to throw punches or whatnot. But this is the third time that something major has happened to my child underneath their watch. And they need to own it.
Hmm.
They need to own the fact that they have fucked up yet again. And I'm sitting here being Sebastian's voice. Because right now he doesn't have one until we find him.
This is the third bad thing. The third time something serious has happened to Sebastian under their watch. Under Katie and Seth's watch. And I hold Katie more responsible because she is the birth mother. But, Seth wanted to take on the role of stepfather, so he's responsible too. So, on their watch, the third time, that's horrendous to me.
If he could sit there and tell the school psychologist the person's name, so that the other children that was around him would not become victims as well. And I went as far as finding out, the parents, from my understanding, the parents told Katie and Chris that their kid picked it up off of watching YouTube. Me personally, I've never seen like that stuff on YouTube. So
neither have I. So what is he watching on the tubes that would give him the disturbing education like that? That's what I'd like to know as well. Huh? So you learned this
with his age, I would have to say that somebody was abusing the child.
Huh.
It had been probably going on for a while for him to think that it was normal, so he did it to my son. That's why I'm asking about my son having the correct therapy to get him back on track.
Right. This kid didn't get this from YouTube. He didn't learn how to do that from YouTube, okay? I've been on YouTube a long time, both as a viewer and a YouTuber, content creator. He didn't get that from YouTube. Someone was doing something to him, and for a long time. I agree with that assessment because kids just don't essay somebody. Somebody's been doing something to him. And I don't know what happened with that kid. I don't know if there was any kind of serious intervention or anything, but he'd be an adult by now. And something, if he didn't get help for what was very likely happening to him, very, very highly likely to have been happening to him, the cycle will continue. And since he got away with doing this to Sebastian, he probably did it to other kids too. And Sebastian may have not been the first one. And I have a really hard time placing all the blame on this kid because clearly he was a victim of something too. And it's just, I don't know, this whole, it's just, that's a whole other mess involving that family who we don't know anything about. But for those people, that is a whole other thing that I hope that they dealt with. We will never know. But I hope that kid got the help he needed, because if he didn't, there are a lot of, are probably now and will be a lot more victims in his wake. So, yeah. Then you didn't get that from YouTube. You don't learn that from YouTube.
So I'm going to repeat it one last time, okay? So you had...
Made him? This is the
Oh,
last time.
no. Time out, bro. Hold up. Well, what I'm trying to understand here, so that everyone understands as well, is that you had a not so pleasant conversation on the phone with Chris and Katie Proudfoot. And during this argument or this conversation, Chris said something along the lines of, everyone keeps on asking me why I don't like having Sebastian anywhere near Faith. And I will air that stuff out if you keep pushing me. And guess what's going to happen? Nobody's going to want to look for Sebastian because of his past. Am I correct?
Wow, you cut out there bad.
Okay.
But yeah, just the way you were saying, sorry, because I lost everything on there.
It's okay.
It keeps freezing on my end. Yes, me and Chris and Katie had a conversation, and Chris asked me, people are asking me this question. If they don't stop asking me this question, I'm going to have no choice but to tell them. Well, now he can sit there and tell them. At the same point in time, I know that I know that his daughter, Faith, FaceTimes with my son all the time and considers my son her older brother. And he considers Faith his little sister. And if he's anything like his dad, we're supposed to protect the young ones. We're supposed to protect our sister. We're supposed to protect people. And that's one of the things I've been trying to instill with him to combat what has happened to him.
No, I'm still trying to understand a little bit more about this too, okay? This tragedy happens to Sebastian against his will. It's not like he decided to have this crime committed against him. It happened under Katie Proudfoot's supervision. And yet Chris is still trying to hold that over your head as if Sebastian's some sort of monster. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. This is an innocent kid where this happened to him. So I don't get that part.
Chris doesn't see him as innocent. It would be the only thing I could say.
It's just so weird that, I mean, that wouldn't make people not want to look for him, like saying, well, Sebastian was a victim of SA. That wouldn't make people not want to look for him. That would make people more sympathetic for him, and to him. And if Chris tried to spin a story that way, he would look like a bigger pile of crap. He would look like even a bigger pile of garbage than he already looks like. And you know that pile of dinosaur poop in Jurassic Park? That's what he looks like to me. And if he tried to spin some kind of story about how Sebastian is a PDF, he would just look like an even bigger pile of it. And that is another reason his preoccupation with that is another reason I think he maybe gave or sold Sebastian to somebody. It is a possibility. It sounds ridiculous, but it is a possibility. He knew he was going to be out of town, and he could have set this whole thing up. He is not a good guy. He is not a good guy. So, yeah.
Questionable things, that Sebastian has done some questionable things. I'm not asking you to go into gritty details or anything of that sort, but I'm wondering, what are these questionable details that would make Chris not comfortable having Sebastian near Faith? Can you expand a little bit on that?
I don't know if that violate YouTube or not.
I
But
mean,
when he pulls out his wiener in the men's bathroom and you're like, look, this is mine. What's yours look like? I mean, that's innocent kid shit.
Right. Right.
I was a kid at one point in time.
So was I.
So I know it seems odd to air this out about Sebastian, but I think it's important to maybe get an idea of what could have possibly happened to him, because this leads us into other thoughts, you know what I mean? And yes, it's embarrassing. It would be embarrassing for this to come out in the event, and I hope they find him, but in the event they find him. But I think things are getting desperate. And I feel like these details are important because maybe not for every single one of us to know about, which I think that was a concern that someone had in the comments they made. But I think that someone with the mindset that they can use that to their advantage in some way, financial or otherwise, would be looking for children like that are so bold or whatever. You know what I mean? And I want to know, does Seth know that Sebastian really did this, or was this information relayed to him by Chris or somebody? I'm not saying Seth is lying at all. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying, how did he come to know that that occurred? And again, this is another reason why I think Chris may have worked something out with somebody. I'm just saying, again, it's a theory. It's just a theory.
Cat's out the bag, y'all. Okay? I really want to know, what really is the dynamics between you, Katie, and Chris Proudfoot? Honestly.
I'm Seth Rogers. They're the Proudfoots. That child that they can't seem to say his name is Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. He is my son. I named him. I haven't want to gone back to court. I want him to come live with me. And I was getting what me and him wanted. He wanted to live with me. I wanted him to come live with me. And now he's missing.
Did Katie have a problem with the fact that Sebastian wanted to live with you? Yes or no?
You'd have to ask her.
You didn't get any vibe from her at all whatsoever from the many years that you've dealt with her since the divorce and since the custody battle was all settled. You never got any vibe from her at all that she felt a little perturbed or jealous over your relationship with Sebastian.
She has made comments along those lines. Talk to your son. He thinks you walk on water.
Why didn't Katie just let Seth have Sebastian? You know, I don't understand. And I'm just pointing this out because I saw it earlier today and it reminded me of this. In the very first interview they did with the media, at one point she looks like she's getting ready to crack up laughing and catches herself. It was so weird to me. And that may have just been trauma response or something, but it was weird. It was really weird.
You'll be coming to live here at the end of school. So you'll be out of it. Why do I think my son hasn't ran away? Because he's not at my front door knocking on it. There's been that many days that he could have been here. And I've been all over Montgomery County. I've been all over 41. I've been all over 24. I haven't found him.
You don't think he ran away?
I think if he was to run away, he would have put on his shoes. He would have grabbed his phone. He would have at least called me, whether he could have got to me or not.
Gone without a trace. How? Where is he? How is there no trace? There's no trace. Why? And why are people trying to sabotage the search? What is going on? What is going on? There is more to this than any of us realize. I want to know what's going on. I want to know why they're trying to stop the search. It's just odd to me. And I'm sure it's odd to you too. I know my viewers care. And I know my viewers, because my viewers are great people. They're really special people. And I love them. And I know that they care. And I know that they're with me in hoping that Sebastian is found alive. But also that we all have questions. We want to know where he is this is weird. This is very bizarre. And it's just, it's so upsetting. And I think you can tell by my voice that this is very upsetting to me. And I think, you know, there are YouTubers out there doing great work trying to help find him. But there are also other YouTubers that are just trying to get views and clicks. And again, that's not what I'm trying to do. I have an extremely small channel. I don't get many views. I'm not trying to do that. Eric can't listen to this nonstop, so I come to you for it. And also, I just want to keep his name out there as much as I can, too. Do my little part from my little corner of the world, because I can't get there to help search. And if I could, I wouldn't vlog it anyway. I was asked to name the names of the people, because I had mentioned some YouTubers I feel like they're just doing things just for the purpose of their channel, for content. Like there's one particular YouTuber, like I said, in Florida, who is claiming to be helping in the search and is vlogging a search, but she's searching in a park, in a state park or a city park that I regularly go to. And I'm like, what is she trying to pull? Now, the reason I won't name these people, and I just want to say this here, the reason I won't name them is because I could be, I'm right, that one particular YouTuber I'm right about, but I did go and look for her channel and I can't find it. She may have deleted it because I know other people were giving her a time about it. But there are other YouTubers that I just suspect they're doing these things, and I could be off base, and I don't want to call them out and, you know, violate TOS, because we're not supposed to, like, we're not supposed to encourage people to stop going to other people's channel or avoid their channel or, like, report them in some way. It's such a thin line between, what am I trying to say? I just don't want to risk violating the TOS for content creators. So, but I think if you watch any of these creators, the ones I speak of, they're pretty obvious with their intentions. And I think my viewers are very intelligent, and they will see it. So, and also, I think it's a bad thing to fake your search, but I do think it's a good thing that you're keeping his name out there and you're keeping his picture out there. So it's kind of, I'm just going to move on because I'm just running it at the mouth, you know?
Let's talk about Chris. So the dynamics with Chris, because I know that he's been, you know, there's been talk of him, both of them actually, almost making fun of Sebastian in interviews, cracking jokes about him, so on and so forth. What's up with that? Because obviously it seems as if he has the audacity to call you on the phone, get angry with you on this phone call and say, oh, you know, if I unearth this information, no one's going to want to go and, you know, look for Sebastian. That gives me a vibe that this person doesn't really give a damn about finding Sebastian. Can you let us know your thoughts on that? Because it seems as if the last thing you need to be doing is calling a missing 15-year-old kid some sort of pariah or monster out here. Wouldn't you think?
Yeah.
So what is the dynamic? Because remember, he was on Nancy Grace lying in full 4K, saying that he's never put his hands on him before, so on and so forth. No CPS, etc. Is that true or not?
I don't know. I can't get the records.
So has Sebastian ever turned to you or anyone connected to you at all and has expressed concerns over how Chris Proudfoot has disciplined him in the past?
Sebastian never told me that stuff, or else me and Chris would have had a conversation.
Right on.
They're very cold towards Sebastian. And they don't care about finding him. They just don't care about finding him. You know, it's just... And honestly, after this interview, it kind of seems like they know where he is. It really seems like they know where he is, what's going on with him, what's happened to him. I hope it isn't the worst thing we can think of. And I hope it's not the second worst thing I can think of. But the more and more I think about these things that have been said, the more I think that Chris had a plan. I really am starting to feel like that. I'm not saying it definitively. It's just a theory I have. So it kind of seems like they know where Sebastian is. At least Chris does. And because Katie passed the lie detector test, or the polygraph test. And maybe Chris is just totally pulling the wool over her eyes. She seems like somebody who it would be easy to pull the wool over her eyes, because another, you know, I got to keep a man in my life situation. So it kind of seems like he knows, like he's done something, he's up to no good, and yet no criminal element is suspected. I call bullshit. I call bullshit.
Maybe he has something to do or knows something about the disappearance of your son.
Well, he once told me if I went back to church that maybe I'd find my son. And
What?
I know that he's probably in chat listening, because, you know, that's just the way he is. What you do in the dark does come to the light, and it says so in the good book. And just
Amen.
remember, there's a special place for people when they die and go to hell for you. So it's his prerogative on what he wants to go ahead and be guilty of. But I mean, he's lied so many times. Does it surprise you?
No.
So
I'm side-eyeing him. I'm side-eyeing Chris. That male thing has something to hide. He has something to hide. And again, theorizing. He's sick. He's diseased. And it seems to me like Chris is being protected. It seems to me like he's being protected. And I want to know if he or his family have any ties to law enforcement, because it really seems to me like he's being protected.
You're the only one out of the three working to try to find Sebastian. Sure, they might be, quote unquote, working closely with law enforcement, but we don't see them out there posting flyers, doing everything they can to find Sebastian. They're jumping in RVs and driving off, living their life like it's golden, as if they're single suddenly, like they're, you know, a couple without kids. And that's insane to a lot of people. Go ahead, Seth.
What's funny is all they had to do was give him to me, and they could have gone and done that themselves.
No doubt. No doubt.
Yeah, they could have just given Sebastian to Seth, and then they can go live their sorry little lives.
Up now. So everyone's starting to side-eye those two. But then to add insult to injury, to throw tobacco sauce in an open wound, they jump into this RV and they drive off to an undisclosed place, like the doggone president of these United States. It just doesn't make sense to me, and it makes them look extremely suspicious.
Yeah, they run off like little cowards. They look suspicious because they are suspicious. I don't think Katie so much. I don't love the way she acts, but I don't think her so much as Chris. But they're suspicious. He apparated like Harry Potter. He's a wizard. You're a wizard, Sebastian. He just He apparated. No dogs picked up his scent. How is that? How is that? How is that? I don't understand. But anyway, it just doesn't make any sense to me. I see so many comments of people just, where are you, young man? Where are you, Sebastian? Where is he? And I just the most horrendous things cross my mind that are possibilities. And I just, you know, again, I have my theory about Chris, and I think that he had some warped idea about what he thought was happening with Sebastian, or what he thought might happen with Faith, and he did something. And don't you dare come to me and say it's a father's love, because that's not a father's love. A father's love is what you see Seth doing. That's a father's love. So anyway, that's all I have to say on it. I feel like garbage, and I got to go take my medicine and go to bed. But I will talk to everyone later. Thank you so much for watching. Go check out the Pascal Show. Tell them Dawn from the Cutting Board sent you. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, and I will talk to everyone later. Bye.